Hi, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar with Jovana Rikalo from us here at BenQ. We're so excited to get going. Today, we're going to be having a fine art live editing session, and we're really excited to get going. Before we get started, a couple of little housekeeping things. So first of all, everyone who's going to be here at the webinar today, all of you lovely participants, will be receiving a 10% discount code, which we'll be sharing later on, and also via email, which will be on actually one of the monitors that you're seeing right here on our SW and PD series from BenQ. Now, for those of you who are here maybe for the first time and don't know, BenQ has two lines of monitors called the AccuColor monitors, which are the PD series and the SW series. And these monitors are really built from the ground up to be made for design work, for photography work, or simply if you're someone who's in a creative space as a Mac user, for example, and you're looking for really the best monitor to work with for your eye health and also for color accuracy, then these are the monitors that we really think will convince you of their quality. And one of the most important aspects when you're working with photography, design, art is really to have the most color accurate monitor possible. Maybe you've had the situation before where you take a picture with maybe perhaps some flowers and you go back onto your monitor afterwards to edit the image and you realize that the color of the red of the flower simply looks different on your monitor. With BenQ monitors, you have the utmost assurance to have the most color accurate monitor possible with whatever your work might be for design or photography. You can at any time here on the right side, you can see on the links, you can access those. We also have exclusive promotion for 1 year free of Panto Connect Premium, which, as many of you know, used to be part of Photoshop, but then was then separated. It's now something that a lot of designers have to buy separately, but this is something that you can get for free, 1 year free when you're a BenQ user of a PD or SW monitor. Also, an exciting new feature that we have for these reviews, for these webinars, is that we have also now automated subtitles. If at any point you would like to turn these on, you can set up the size of the subtitles. At the moment, they're available in English. And this is something that can help you in case you want to improve your comprehension of what's going on. On to today's event. We're today joined by Jovana Rikalo, who is a BenQ Ambassador and who's been using the SW monitor series now for over 5 years. If you are not familiar with Jovana's work, I highly recommend you check out her Instagram. We have it here linked up. You'll see she has quite a massive following, and once you take a look at her work, you'll really understand why. Jovana is incredibly hardworking. I've really never met someone who's really always so active like she is, always so proactive, someone who's constantly doing workshops, clientele, photo shoots, who's always traveling, and always someone who's always looking for the next big thing, always looking for the next big photos that she can take of new locations, new models to work with. The amount of models she's worked with at the moment now is in the dozens, if not already past 100, because of just how active she is. And she really has this incredible ability to capture this whole concept of fine art, to really bring across emotions and these evocative images with her work. And you'll see it's very colorful, and we're very happy and very privileged that she's here today to share all of her knowledge. And throughout this whole webinar, we will be having a Q&A section at the very end, but feel free to ask questions at any point. Those will then be responded to afterwards. So without further ado, I'd like to call Jovana to the stage.
Hello, Vicente. Hello, guys. I'm very excited for today's webinar because every time when I have to do this session, I got very happy and excited because it is always such a great connection between us. On today's webinar, we will be editing 5 different images, and I'm very excited because this is the first time I'm doing like this type of the webinar. But before we start, I would love to say something that my name is Jovana. I'm a fine art and portrait photographer based in Serbia, and I would love to ask you before we start, so what level are you at photography? So I'm very curious to know. Are you a hobby photographer? Are you just starting, or are you a professional? So let's see. Let me see. Professional, hobby, just starting. Haven't started yet. Okay. I think now it is the right time to start. Let's see. Okay, you can still answer. More hobby than a professional. But yeah, it is so interesting to know how many of you. I remember when I was starting with photography, I was very excited, and you just need a more time and 1 or 2 years just to practice and just to start doing, just feeling what is the best for you. Okay, so now I will share the presentation. Let me see. I want to share the content, which we will go today. So as you can see, the webinar is called Fine Art Live Editing Session. I'm very excited because of this, because I love to edit the photos and I really enjoy the whole process. So today we will have introduction on each image, because there is always a story behind every image. I love to say that I'm more artist than a photographer, because there is always a more deeper meaning than only a photo. There is a totally new story to every image. And I think that is always the case, and so important to have your own story in your images. So we will have introduction. Then we'll be retouching the photos. Landscape, nature backdrops, lightning models, and special effects. And at the end of this webinar, we'll be having question and answer section. So make sure to, during this whole webinar, ask the questions, whatever you want about the models, about the lighting, about the editing, about the gear, equipment. So everything you have in mind, you can ask. And at the end of this webinar, I will answer all your questions. So don't forget to ask. So introduction on each image. So as you probably know, there is one section when you're taking photos and when you have a preparation, and there is totally different section when you edit the image afterwards. So this is the final step, I think, and this is the most important step, because you're adding the colors, you're choosing what styles, in how style you will edit the photos. And I think this is something you have to spend more time in editing, because that will be the final image. So every image try to have a story behind. So when you have a story, a story is not only creating a photo. Story means that maybe it is a different part of the toning you're adding to the image. Story means that if you're choosing the dark image, it has a different meaning. If you choose the bright image, it has totally different meaning. If you choose to add some elements, to remove some elements, this is also a story. So make sure to try to ask yourself, so how do you want to tell a story? Do you want to tell a story with a color? Do you want to tell a story with a model? Do you want to tell a story with all these elements? Do you want to tell a story by adding some details or removing some details? So it is something that you get practice by time slowly. It is not something that you're going on photo shoot and you know everything. So I want to do this and I will remove this. So this is a totally process, and you will learn during this whole process, so what is the best and how you want to tell a story. So think always about the story and what is your color, because that is so important. Image selection. This is something that you have to pay attention on. So every time when I have a workshop, I tell to people that always image selection is very important before you start editing the photos. So you're done with a photo shoot, you sit on a computer, you transfer the photos from the camera to the PC, and then you see what images you will edit. I know this is the most hardest part, because if you have all the beautiful images, it will be very hard for you to choose. For me also, because every time when I have so many beautiful images, I was like, why this happened? But at the end, you see the right ones. So there is some tips before you start editing. So when it comes to selection, make sure to remove first images that are blurry, that you don't like closing eyes, if they are smiling and you don't want smile, some movements you don't want in the photos. If you have some harsh movement, but if you want some dreamy moments and you have like make sure to remove these parts, because you don't like that in your photos and you don't want. Then the next step is to see how many scenes you have, how many different setups. Every time when I plan the photo shoot, I have maybe 4 to 5 different setups. And to me, it's very important to choose maximum 5 images from each setup. So when I choose the maximum 5 or 10 images from each setup, then I will slowly making smaller selection. And at the end, I will choose maybe 2 or 3, the best ones, and 1 to upload from each set. Because remember, if you have all the same movements, all the same facial expressions, it's not like you don't have the same value like the post, the one photo, and it gives you everything. Like you have the right movement in your hair, if you have the right portraits, if you have the right eye direction, if you have the right body position, if you have the right setup in the photo, then it is okay to have only one image, because people, you will see everything on that photo. If you have duplicating, that it won't have the same value. So this is, I think this is the most important part. So if you maybe make 500 images, make sure to maybe make selection of 200, then from 200 maybe 50, and from 50 10. I know it's hard for me. Before it was taking a lot of time, but now I spend maybe 15 minutes just to choose the right images. The next, before editing, make sure to think about the space where you are editing the photos, and where and with who. I know maybe some of you edit with somebody, but I know many of you edit alone. But I want to say that before you start editing, make sure to think about the space. Make sure to clean your space, because if you have a totally mess, then your mind won't work in that way to see the connection and right selection in front of you. So if you edit with someone else, maybe a friend, maybe you're a coffee and want to edit a photo. So every time the friend is speaking to you, you will maybe don't have time with yourself to know what you will edit or what you want to remove from the photo, what type of the colors you want to add. So everything is so important. I know I'm very deep into it. I'm very perfectionist, but if you slow down and just to think that if you have enough time for yourself and just to see and looking at these images and see, okay, what I will do now, I think you need some peace moment with yourself and with your monitor in front of you. And make sure to clean the space and you have the right part of the day. So if you have maybe a too harsh light, you won't see the whole details. So I know it's with the BenQ monitors, that is not the key. But if you're using the other type of the monitor, I think this is a big problem. But I will speak about the monitor later on. And don't overdo it. I know this is when you're starting with the editing, especially not photography. If you see how some tool working in Photoshop, then you will want, I know every time on my workshops, people, when discover some new tool, they were like, oh, I will go very deep with this tool. So I just want to say, don't do it, because key is just to not overdo and not to do like the less and not too strong. Everything in the middle is perfect, because you want to add too much into the photo and not too less in the photo. So make sure to just slow down before it. I want to ask you before we go to the next slide, so which are better describes your focus on photography? I want to answer this poll. Which one describes your focus best in photography? People and models, landscape. I'm very excited. Oh my God, so many of you answer people, but still, you can still vote. Every time when I think about photography, I think about my beginnings. So when I was starting, I was taking photos, lots of nature. So and I was like, I don't want to do a people. No, this is not interesting. But now I can't live. Okay, so many of people and models, and only 17 landscape photography. Okay, so I love it. But now during this webinar, I will also edit the landscape in nature details, because sometimes you just have to rest from the people and just to edit this style, because this is also very important, and it gives you a different. It helps you to add a scenery later on in your photography. I will talk about it later. Okay, so now I want to have I want to tell a story behind of each image we will be editing. So the first image is about skin and lighting. So to me, it's very important to choose the right model, the right location, the right light. I'm a natural light photographer, but lately I really enjoy creating portraits and fine art photography inside a studio, because I have more control over the light and you can create so many different scenes. I got very addicted to it, but still I love to taking photos outside, but this is at this moment. There is a story behind this, where I wanted to place the model in the center and where I wanted to put like a backlight back of her to add like light in her hair, where I want to show like she's a sun, and I want to show some sunset in a studio. And this light was very perfect, and I really love, because we had this plant around the model, and the composition is full here. There is very one interesting story. This plant was actually a poison plant. We didn't know that when I found this plant outside of the city where I live, and it attracts me because of the height. So it was 2 meters high, and I was impressed, because if you put this plant inside the studio, you will make such a cool effect, because this plant is very high and it's almost like the whole ceiling in a studio, and it gives such a strong effect. And it was maybe 2 weeks in a studio, and then one girl, when I posted on Instagram, one girl told me that this is a poison plant, and I was like, oh my god, no. It is a dry plant. It's not like this poison, like it's fresh and when you eat this plant, but still I think you can breed a little percent. But I removed it from the studio immediately, and when I mentioned that to the model, she was like, now there is one more new meaning to this photo, because this plant was poisonous. One interesting story behind this image, and I'm very happy to edit this photo, because it's one of the latest images I created, and I'm very into it. The next one was a landscape photo. I really enjoy taking photos of landscape, because in that case I can relax my mind, relax my soul, and then I can choose from this like nature elements to add to the scenes when I take creating portraits and fine art photography. So it was taken in Serbia. There is a special part in Serbia. It's 4-hour drive from the city where I live, and where you have like an Italy landscape. I was really amazed, because you have all these trees, and during fall it is very special. I visited during the fall season, because the tree has different colors. I knew that I wanted to change more orange, more yellow tones, and I was going to when it was sunset, because if you are creating landscape photography, then you know that at the sunset, at the sunrise is the best light. So I love how we have shadows here, and how there is a one big tree in the center of this image, and it really goes, it is like in the center of the hill, and like the heart of this hill. And I really love how we have a little foggy moment, clouds and shadows and fall. So the full composition is here, and I'm very happy with the images. The third image is a natural backdrops. I really love flowers. Who is following me knows that I'm always in a search for flower fields, and especially lavender, cherry blossoms, and other blossoms during spring. And lavender is so special to me, because it has such a different petals, and to me is so beautiful when I'm creating alone this type of the close-ups, because you see all the details of the flowers. And when you're creating this type of the photos, natural backdrops, where you don't have people, I think it is more it is also special, because you don't have to pay attention to the skin, you don't have to pay attention so how you will posing the model. You have a flower, and you will choose what angle you will create photos of, so how much you will get close to the flower, how you do you want to catch the sunset, do you want to catch the light, do you want to catch the grass in the photo. So it is so special, because you have also so many angles, like the people photography. And here I will edit like different colors and toning. And the last photo is the special effects. So it was a client photo shoot. It she was pregnant. She wanted the smoke effect. And as you know, I really love using smoke effects in my photos. And because it gives such a different scene, more dreamy scenes, if you don't have enough elements to have a control on location. So if you have only grass, model, and nothing around the model, I think it's to use this type of effects, maybe like dry ice on the floor or smoke effect, because it gives you the full composition. And when you are working with a smoke, it is so special effects, and especially if you're a dreamy and fantasy photographer, it gives so much. So there was a story behind these images. And before we start editing, I would like to ask you, so are you more into natural or studio lighting? So to me, this is so important. So do you prefer having control over the lights in a studio or having the challenge of natural outdoors light? I know that maybe most of you will answer natural lighting. I feel that, but let's see. Okay, natural light is going now more. Studio lighting. I was thinking the same. When I was starting, I thought that I would never work with a studio lights because it's not so interesting. But when I start working, oh my God, it's so, you can create so many different setups and things and control. You have a control over the light, but natural light is so special, I know. So, okay, most of you said natural lighting, and 28% said studio lighting. Maybe now, after we edit this photo, this will change your mind and you will start creating photos inside. You don't have to own a studio. You can create photos inside your room and create maybe mobile light, or you have a small light for the portraits. So it gives such a, especially the backlight. Okay, now people, I want to edit the first two images here. So I will now share the screen. Make sure to ask the questions during this webinar. Okay. So I will now go into the image. Okay, this is the raw file. And when I open this image, we have a raw section here where first I will do a little bit of tweaking. So I will see if we have enough brightness, the contrast, the highlights. Here we will pay attention to exposure, contrast, highlights, shadows, and grains and temperature. And later on, we will import the photo. So here, when I see this image, first I see that it's a little bit more darker than I want. So I will do exposure a little bit off like this. So some of you can do it like this, but I think it's so much because we have backlight like this. Okay, and contrast. I will add just a little bit of contrast because later on I will add more in with different tools. I love to change highlights here, especially I love to have more details, especially if we are using light. If you're taking photos at the sunset, you will also make the highlights less. So you see, it gives much more details to the hair. If you do this, then you can see her hairs. So I will do like this. Shadows. I love to add a little bit of shadows because somehow her lines of the face pop out in the image. I don't use the whites and blacks. Then the temperature, it's a little bit of cooler. So I will add maybe more warmer tones. As you can see, I want more like the dress and the plant tones. So if you have more color tones in the, as a part of the scene, make sure to go a little bit cooler than warmer. So make sure to think about it every time. This is too much, but I will do just a little bit of this and then see, maybe not. No, I want that. I'm very happy with this. So I will then open the image in Photoshop. When I open the image, the first thing I'm doing is to unlock the background and to have image ready for editing. So the first thing I want to see her face. So I think the makeup is very important, especially if you're creating photos of female models. If you have a makeup as a base, then you won't have so much time editing the skin in Photoshop. So especially now when I become a mother, to me it's very important to do things much quicker than before. Before I was having more time to edit and spend maybe 10 hours of editing. And now the whole organization is very, I have to organize myself much, to be very quicker. So to me, it's very important to have a really good makeup base every time, because I spend less time editing the skin and pay attention to other details. So if you can do this, then it's okay. You will have more time to finish some other preparations in your job. You have more time to communicate with the model. So make sure to all the things, how you can do things much quicker than usual. If you think you have control over the layers, you don't have to make a new layer. But okay, I will duplicate the image just in case if I have some mistakes. So I will use, when I duplicate the image, I want to do opacity over to maybe 60, 70, and then choose, then choose patch tool, and make sure, why I choose opacity 70, because I don't want the harsh lines when I remove the blemishes. You will see now. See, I will make a selection of the blemishes and only move on the place where she don't have like blemishes, on the clear skin. So every time if the model has so many blemishes, make sure to zoom in the photo and choose a small, like this small selection, and then place it next to the where is the clear skin. So this is so important to move to the clear skin and next to these blemishes, because you have the same light. If you prefer to make a selection and move here, then this part will be much darker because here is much darker. So make sure to pay attention to the light and where you are removing the blemishes. You see here, I have this small, so you see, and it's totally fine. And as you can see before, after, so it takes a lot of time. So she, makeup artist, did such a great job on this one. So, but I still see some of the lines here. Also, if you, if some of the model has more blemishes, make sure to make up, maybe do the freckles. In that case, it will hide this type of the blemishes. And always make sure to change it on the next to the photo. Okay, this. Okay, then next, this one. Okay, here we have this one. Okay, I will zoom out the photo and see if we have some of the other type of the bodies on the hands. Here. Okay, make sure to pay attention not only the face, but on the shoulders, on the hands, on the background also. So I want to zoom out the photo. This is only one of the tools. I'm not saying this is the only tool. This is only one tool. Okay, if we have some, let me see. This is the part of her birthmark. I don't want to remove it, but if you have like this type of things, then I will choose this tool, like spot healing brush tool, and make the size of the blemishes. Make sure to choose the right size, and the hardness maybe 50, and then just click it this way and it will disappear. But I want to leave it now because it will be totally fine to have it, because this is her part of her. So I'm done with removing, but now I want to use the mix brush tool, where I will be like like having a foundation on her skin. So I want to smooth these parts from dark to the white, to the bright side. So make sure to also pay attention to colors. We have one color here, one color in the middle, and one color on the chin. So we will use the mixer brush tool and pay attention to use these parameters and numbers up to 10. It's okay. 1, 2, 5, 4. These 4. Make sure to maybe, it is okay to put 5 here, then 8, but it is so important to put it up to 10, because if you put more, then it will be too hard. You won't have texture into the photo. I will show you now. I will just duplicate and I will remove it afterwards. So if we put like 48 like this, you see, we don't see details anymore. So it is much important to have control over it and to put it up to 10 like this. Okay, then how I'm choosing the colors. I will click this square and then choose in the center color of the center, because this is like the main color of her face. And I will click OK. And then how much we have selection, then this is the size of the brush. So somehow don't go too in the hair, because here it is naturally to have shadows. So make sure to go only this way. I will do duplicate it later, because it will be much easier for me to show you. Okay, then the next color we have on her in the middle of her face, and we will go like this. So if you have freckles, please. Okay. And one and other side. Other side. And her chin. Sorry. And her chin. Make sure to don't overdo it, because this is so important. Just slowly, slow steps. As you can see before, after, I make it more smoother this way. So make sure to do it on the body also. On the body also, on the hands, and make sure to choose the right color. So make sure if the lights is going here, and it will be lighter colors. So pay attention. If you have shadows here, this is another color. As you can see, when I click here, we have this color. And when we click here, we have, you see, lighter color. So make sure to switch colors all the time, and the size of the brush. So this is also one of the way of the editing, and I love to edit this way. And maybe a neck also. Okay, as you can see, before, after. Before and after. Okay, I'm very satisfied with this. As you can see, before, after. I love to merge visible layers because I got very messy when I have tons of layers. So every time when I'm satisfied, I click save layer. So I don't want to have more layers. Now, I want to add more pop-out effect on her face. So I will use the Dutch tool. This is Dutch tool. Make sure to pay attention to exposure. It has to be up to 15% and range mid-tones. Size, it's okay. Depend what you're do selection of. If I want to do only this part, then I will make this selection. If I want to do the hair, then I will do the big size. So make sure to pay attention of the size, and hardness is 0. You don't want to have a really hard effects on her face. Dodge tool, and then you see, I will again do a selection for you just to show you before and after. So we will do like this. See, like this. You see how I have more because I have it's inside the studio and I have a light, it gives even more when you're taking photos outside, then it's a less effect. So, okay, under the brows, everything where you have highlights naturally, you can place the Dutch tool. So make sure to pay attention to highlights. You will see now in her hair, because we have so many strong lights. This, wow, amazing. Okay. And now I want to do it maybe on the back a little bit also, but I want to add, you see how much I'm adding? And I gives live, like live effects. You see before and after. And now I will use the burn tool to add the shadows. It's the same. You see, I will, everywhere where I have shadows, I will place the burn tool. So maybe in the here. Also, don't overdo it. Just pay attention to hardness and the size and this exposure. I'll maybe put less. Okay. I'm satisfied with this. Yes. You see before and after pop out. And I will also click the merge visible. Now I want to add a liquify tool. I want to add a little volume in her hair. I will also duplicate the layer just in case if I will go to filter, liquify. You will see this is my favorite tool because every time when I want to add the volume in her hair and the dress, I love using this tool. This is such a perfect tool for it. Some of the people loves creating on the face, but I really love on the hair and the dress. So make sure to pay attention only on size and use this tool. If you have some details like lines, please pay attention to it. I have now plans, so it is okay to maybe change it, you see? Move the plans also, but if you have lines, make sure to think, and you can delete also afterwards. You see the here. Now, if I'm close to the face, make sure to pay attention because you don't want to spread the mouth or the chin afterwards. I want to pay attention to the lines also. Okay, I'm very happy with it. So I will click OK. And now, as you can see, when you see before after, wow, it gives, sometimes it's too much, but it gives such a nice final touch. So I'm very satisfied with it. So I will merge visible. And now the toning. I really love to use selective colors. So if you can find it on adjust layer, make sure to go to image adjustment and selective color. So here, every color we have on the photo. So here we have mostly red and yellow, we'll change it. So if you have green, then you will use green. If you have blue, then you will use blue. But now we have red and yellow here. I will use the yellow. You can see, whoop, too much yellow, then washed yellow. So maybe I will go, this is a lot of practice. So you will spend a lot of time finding the perfect color. But I will go maybe like this, and then it gives more orange to the photo. You see, this is too much. This is, I love this also, but it's a little washed out. So I will maybe use it this way. I love this. You see, golden red. I will use like this. I'm happy with this. Then reds. I love to put a little bit red. This is too much, of course. I will do maybe like this. And this. Yeah, I'm very satisfied with this. Then the next, I want to add more contrast because it gives more pop out of the image. So I will use these curves. Make sure to pay attention to this line. I love to go maybe more, you see, saturate a hue. And then I will do like this, you see, contrast. I love to have more alive images. So as you can see, before and after, I love it. And then I will merge visible. And then sometimes I love to use color balance to also see if I have some final touches, if I want more blue or yellow. But I think we have enough yellow to this image. I'm very satisfied with this. I will leave it like this. So I don't want to do anything else because it will be too much. As I mentioned, it will be too much happening in the photo. So now I will merge visible and then I will save the image. So I will do File, Save As. Whatever, if you have some folder or no, make sure to JPEG and make sure to quality on maximum size and click OK. It takes time. Okay, and now when we are done with the image, we can go out and then move to the next one. I will do the second one. So it will be landscape photo. So this is, as you can see, the before image is also nice, but I want more colors into this image because it was fall and we have such a nice landscape, and it will be too pity to not have more colors into the image. So the first thing I want to say that if you're creating landscape portraits, photos, make sure to pay attention about the composition and make sure to have some clouds. I know that you don't have control over it, but if you choose to create photos of nature, make sure to choose a cloudy day, because in that case you will have a full composition. As you can see here in the middle, we have a beautiful hill, then on the bottom we have a blurry effect of the trees, and on the top we have a clouds. So everything we have in one photo. So before we start editing, I love to, in raw section, to edit, to do a little bit of tweaking. So every time I love to do exposure, so I can do it like this. It's totally moody, but it is too pity to not have like the bright image because we have a nice landscape. If you don't have enough details, then you can move on the dark side. Okay, exposure up, contrast a little bit, highlights. You see how much we have now when we put, and make sure to create raw files in the camera, not a JPEG, because later on you can do this editing in Photoshop. You see shadows, it relieves so much things here. If I put less, then we won't see the details. So I really love it this way. Let's see the temperature. Because it's fall, I will add more yellow because, you know, it goes with the season. I'll do this way. And I will click open the image. Now we don't have a people, so we won't edit the skin, but let's see what we can do. I want to make this tree a little bit longer. So how I will do that? I will unlock the background and I will use the lasso tool. I will select the image. I will select the tree and do edit copy, edit paste. I want to repaste the image to have two trees because we will select this tree and then do this. Because if we have two trees, then the one will be old image and we can delete it. So when we have here, we won't remove these parts to not see it. So that is why we have this layer, and we will click the layer mask to delete it. So the black is to deleting the stuff, and the white, it gives back the stuff. So how we will delete it? We will use the brush tool. So the brush tool, make sure to go opacity. We want to have, you see, when we have opacity 100 and hardness this, you see harsh lines. We want soft touch. So we will do opacity around 30. This is also practice. So you will see when it goes 30, when it goes 50. So it depends on each image. Make sure to put the hardness down and go. You see, it's more like, I will do opacity more. It's much more smoother. See, make sure. You see, we now have this part here. And if you see, when we make sure to zoom every time the photo, because you see these parts, we will now select the image and do image, transform, and warp tool. And you see, we can go down and make in the line, you see, go down like this and click enter. And now it's in the same line, but we still see this. We have to delete it. As you can see, when you go closer to the tree, make sure to do opacity even less, around 20, and the size also just a little bit like this. Okay, now zoom out. And now it gives much more definition to the image, this tree. You see, before, after, I love it. I will merge visible. And now what I want to add colors. So I want to add colors, and I will do it image adjustment and selected colors. So first, here we have red, yellow, little bit of blue and greens. So first the red, you can see. Oh, I love it. It adds so much colors. Let's see, magenta. If you don't want, if you want only here yellow and not this one, you can duplicate the layer, then go to selective color, then change the color. Let me just show you. Okay, and then again click layer mask and delete. You see this part, and it will. I have to go opacity up. It will bring you to the old image. You see, it's now the same color. So you can do it this way. Merge. I will go to yellow. Let's see. Sometimes I spend too much hours choosing the right colors, because this is always so tricky and interesting to find the right color, because I'm always thinking, do I want to add more light to the image, or do I more to do it more in the dark side? I love this. Let's see, greens. Because it is more yellow. If I have here more like green grass, then it will be changed, but this is more of the yellow part, this color. I will click OK, and then I will add more contrast, because the colors will pop out and it will be like light colors. Select color, image, adjustment, and curves. See, if I go like this, you can go like this, but I think it's a little bit of dark. Always pay attention to the middle of this line. You see? Oh, I love it. Whoa. It adds, as you can see, it adds so much. I want to show you. You see, before, after, it adds so much to the scene, and it gives so much colors to the image, and I love using the curves. What you can do in curves also to change the tones in the images, as you can see. Oops, sorry, I want to add like white adjustment. Yeah. Colors here, you can add more blue, you see, and white and yellow. I love it. This. So you have so many time of playing with colors. Green. I don't want to do it like too many colors. I would love to have more yellow, red. I don't want to put like blue and greens, so I will maybe leave it this way. And now again, I will use selected colors, so you can do re-over just to have more of the greens. Yeah, like maybe like this. I love to do like all the angles. Maybe I will, sometimes I get up to see how from the far away looks the image. I really love this way, so I will use it like this. So when it comes to landscape, make sure to pay attention only to toning to the image and to go with the season. So again, I will click the Save As, desktop, or if you have a folder, JPEG, and OK. Click Save. OK. Okay, now I will go back to presentation and later I will edit more images. Let's see. Make sure to ask the questions. I want to ask you now, so what do you edit your photos with? I want to hear this. So are you choosing a professional monitor, regular monitor, laptop? To me, it is very important to have a professional photography monitor because when I was starting and I was using a regular monitor, it has so many mistakes and it's totally different perspective than the professional photography monitor. So let's see. Laptops, too many of you. Laptop, maybe because it's much easier for you to bring everywhere you go. Let's see. You can vote more. Okay. Let's see your answers. So many of you said laptop, then professional monitor, and a regular monitor. Okay, I'm very happy because so many of you professional, but I think it has to be on the first place to have a professional monitor because this is so important. I want to speak now about it. So equipment is so much important if you're a professional photographer and if you're starting, because the tools you're using to capture a good photo, you need the creative tools. So to capture emotion, to capture a story, you have to have a camera. So having a good camera is great, but you can practice storytelling even with a smartphone or a camera on a budget when you're starting with photography. But I think if you want to achieve the quality, you need a professional camera. But if you want this, I think just hobby camera or smartphone camera is totally fine to tell a story. The next one, if you want to add, to tell more details in the photo, to show more details, you tell that with the lenses. So depends what lenses you're using in your photos tells a lot. So if you capture a portrait, then you will use 135 millimeters, 50 millimeters, 85 millimeters lens. If you want to create fine art storytelling image, then you will choose 35 millimeters, like far away image. So pay attention, also connect what camera and lenses you're using. This is so much important. I think the lenses are much more important than the camera. Then you have additional equipment such as lighting, reflections, backdrops if you are creating photos inside the studio. Like I'm practicing now, like I'm experimenting. I love creating inside the studio. And editing, this is, I think, the most important final step, because with the editing software and the editing with a good monitor, a good professional photography monitor, I think it is so important to have the final image with the true colors. So I want to mention that you have a discount code that is valid until 21st of September, 10% discount you have with this code for SWE series and PD series for designers, and SWE are for photographers. I want to say that when I was using regular monitor when I was starting photography, to me was colors was very washed out, and I never achieved the same result like I see on the set, and it was very frustrating to me. I was crying at pool of tears because I didn't have like the right monitor, and I was starting using BenQ professional monitors. More than 5 years I'm using, and I get so many, like everything I get with the BenQ monitors, I don't anything else. I get the true colors. Currently, I'm using SW272U photography monitor. It is a 4K monitor. It is a limited edition series, and it is 27 inches photography monitor. Before this, I was using SW321C monitor. It was 32 inches, and it was a little bit big for my liking. I was used to it. on this size. But when I was starting editing at the beginning, it was very hard for me to like control the head because it is a bigger screen than usual. So that is why I'm saying 27 inches is like a perfect size, because you see center and you see the corners also on the screen. And it is more than 5 years I'm using the BenQ, and what I truly love is the true colors. So what you see is what you get. It is so important to me because when I set, I see colors. Every time when I sit down and when I edit the image, I know I will get the right colors. And after I switching from regular monitor to the professional photography monitor, to me was like a totally new aspect, totally new universe, because I was seeing the same colors. I was very happy because, you know, I was crying the tears before because I didn't have the right colors. To me is also important, and what I really like is fine coating panel from this monitor, because I don't see any reflections even with the strongest light. I was editing the photos inside the studio with the most power like lights on the monitor, and I saw only a little reflection because this light is so strong. And every time I can edit the whole day and I see the same photo. It is paper color sync technology, and I get the same texture as the paper. To me, this is also very new thing, and I cannot wait to experiment with this tool even more in the future. What I really love is also switching the monitor from horizontal to vertical mode, portraits and landscape mode, where I can edit the portraits like in the sides of the portraits. This is so awesome because some other monitors doesn't have this feature. What also I love is hockey puck. So now we have without the cable hockey puck, and I really love this thing because you can put the hockey puck everywhere around you and you don't have to think about where the cable is. So you can switch the modes on the hockey puck, and from sRGB, RGB, and black and white mode, and it's getting things much quicker than to go into the controlling and thinking how you can do it. So as I said, to me, it's very important to have the right colors. I'm not a very technology person, but to me, it's very important to have a true colors, to do things better, to don't see any reflections, to don't see any shadows when I'm editing, because to me, it's very important to have the final colors and the final image like I imagining in my head. I also want to mention that there are two lines of this monitor. SW272U photography monitor, it is a 4K, and SW272Q 2K monitor. And I want to say, everyone, for using the regular monitor, make sure to switch to professional, because you will see the totally new difference. Like switching from smartphone camera to professional camera is totally new universe. So now I want to go into this again to sharing the screen. And now I will go out of this image and go to Lavender. I want to mention that you have a raw file of this image where you can practice also editing this image. So when I open this image, I love to do a raw tweaking. So exposure a little bit up. So no, here I want to do down. As you can see, there is a special effect because I have this grass. I don't like grass in the photos because it is greens and, you know, disturbing greens sometimes. I would love to do it this way and then contrast a bit down, because if I go this, it will be not too visible. Highlights maybe a little bit up to see also this, and shadows a little bit up. Temperature a little bit blue because the lavender is more blue purple. So I will do this way, and maybe whites a little bit up, and open the image. Open the image. So now when we have the image opened, I want to go to selective colors and go to blues, because you see, I would love to add more like purple, like this, and magenta, because it will change, you see. Like this, and maybe greens. Maybe greens more. I want to wash out the greens like this, and maybe yellow. It will also reflect. You see, it's to wash out. So maybe like this. I want this part to pop out. So to me, this is so important now, because this is where things are happening here. Main role, these few petals here. I want to do the curves. Maybe I will go a little bit of down and do a little bit contrast. So if you do this, maybe you can go a little bit of up. Okay. Let's see. Before, after. I love it this way. Also, I want to add a little bit photo filter here. It will add the color over the image. So let's see which type of the colors I want here. Maybe somewhere or white or blue. Maybe the blue. You see, you can go up. Oh, I really love, because it adds so much blue to the image. Like this. Yeah, to me, before, after. And I want to add a little Dodge tool to pop out a little bit this part. As I mentioned, you have a raw file of this image, so you can practice. You can make even brighter image and then send to me afterwards to see how you will edit the brighter tone, because now we will do it in a darker tone. I want to do only this part dark, so I will duplicate the image, duplicate the layer, then go adjustment, curves, do like this, down, background down, don't pay attention to this, and then I will click the layer, mask, and again, opacity down, because I don't want the harsh lines, size up, and I will only getting back the bright side, only this part. You see, when we go before, after, now we have only this part. Maybe it's too much. Maybe I will bring that like this. Wow, amazing. I don't want to touch anything else here on the photo, and I want to save it. Again, desktop, save as, JPEG. If you want to do more changes, then save in a PCD file, Photoshop file, because if you want to add more changes. If you're satisfied and you don't want to re-edit the photo, make sure in JPEG. And the last photo is a special effects. Here, like the smoke effect. So when I open the image, I see this. We will cover that later. But I want to add more colors to the image and more brighter, because I want the light image. I will do only exposure here and highlights, because I want details. And maybe shadows. And maybe yellow a little bit here, like this. Okay, and then I will open the image. When we open the image, the first thing is to zoom in and to see the face. She also has the makeup, but she doesn't have the blemishes here. So I will only do the mixer brush tool, like foundation, like before. We have 3 different colors, like we said. And just make sure to tone it and just have a control over it. Then middle size, like this, and the chin, like this. I will leave it to these lines because she's smiling, so we won't remove it. Let's see other. So it is okay with the hand. I want now to add again the Dutch tool, pop out in her eyes. Pay attention, everywhere we have highlights, make sure to add it. So here, on the cheeks, on the lips, then on the hair, especially if the girl has highlights in her hair, make sure to even more pop out. Maybe crown a little bit. I love to have like live photo and live colors. And maybe, let's see. Here it is also nice to have like dodge, not too much. Everywhere you have highlights, maybe on the dress also. I love it this way. Now I want to add liquify tool because we want volume in her hair. Let's open the image. Just a little bit, because we have door here. We will be very, I will make the lines, pay attention to details, maybe crown a little bit more up. Let's bring maybe dress a little bit. Pay attention to lines like this. Don't do it to because you see, if you remove this a little bit, you can do it like this or use a layer mask and then delete the stuff. I'm satisfied with this. Okay, and now I will now add the colors first, and then I will special effects. Okay, here we have so many colors. So the first we will do the yellow. Maybe a little bit. I want pastel tones, so I will go maybe like this. Then I will add more shadows here. If you are taking photos of model, don't use these first two, only these two, because you will change color of her face, and you don't want to do that. Reds, like this. A little bit of greens. And yeah, white. We have white here because of the smoke. You see, when we go up, we add, I love it white here, so I will do it like this. And add curves also. Nice. Okay, curves pop out. And now I really disturb this part to me. So I want to cover with the special effects. So that is why it is also good to have special effects, because if you have some stuff which you want to eliminate in the photo, make sure to use the smoke. So we will select the area where we have strong smoke. We will do again, edit copy, edit paste, and select. And you see, we will spread here that smoke over the sailing like this, and we will click enter. And now we will remove this part. So make sure to use the layer mask and pay attention to brush tool, opacity, and hardness and size, and to have black here because we are removing. So make sure to opacity be around 40, hardness all down because we want soft. Maybe like this. Let's see. First, we will do these strong lines. No, opacity is up like this. You see, only for the strong lines, hardness, and now down. Now we will do, you see, it's too much. We will make opacity down like this. You see, like to have smoke naturally. See, it's okay to have more of the sailing. We will again duplicate the, see, before after. We will do again paste with the same smoke and then spread it on the top. You can also like changing, because we have a light here, we will even more spread. And make sure if you see that you don't have a good quality of the smoke, make sure to take a separate photo of the smoke and then put it again in the photo. I will again remove it, but now for these hard lines, I need opacity up like this. Yes. And I want the sailing also, so I will do like this. Nice. And I want to do remove back white because I don't want this part. See? Wow, I love it. It's a lot of tweaking. Only here I have, make sure to pay attention to lines and opacity. I'm satisfied with this. And now I want to maybe do more in the center. I will unlock. I will select the whole image, and then I will just to be in the line. I will hold the shift and move to the sides and click enter. And now we have the image. Wow. I will do just a little bit more curves because it will, I love it. And maybe a photo filter to see. Sometimes I'm using, sometimes no, but maybe if you use brown or black, it will like add moodiness to the photo, you see, on her face. I love it. So I will save this image on the desktop. And I'm very satisfied with this. So yeah, now let's move to the grades. I wanted to ask you the final poll now, the question. So how much of your final images is editing and how much are from the camera? Very interesting to know. So let's see. Okay, so many of you editing. Oh no, no, editing. I have 3 times editing. Okay. Nice. Many of you said from the camera. But I think you can change so much stuff by editing the photos. So especially with all these tools. So there is a totally whole process and totally whole new story. And at the end, I want to mention that make sure to separate the styles. If you have if you're creating photos of people, landscape, make sure to think how you want to separate. So don't connect these styles, because if you're love to creating landscapes and nature, then these two go together. If you love creating photos of people and maybe beauty photography, fashion photography, this is also okay to connect, because if you're doing all this, yes, you can do as many styles as you want, but there is totally different rules for each style and different type of the editing and different type of preparation, different type of organization, and it takes so much time and organization to finish all of these. So make sure to choose how you will connect the styles. Create your own backdrop. If you're tired of choosing, you don't know which type of the stock photos to choose to add into the Photoshop and edit the image, make sure to create your own stock photos. Make sure to create photos of nature, of landscape, of details, of snow, of rain, and then you can add these images afterwards when editing. Think about the story. As I mentioned at the beginning, story is very important. Story is not only how you will tell, like how the model will stand. Story is toning, story is details, story is setup, story is location, story is everything on the photo you see. So make sure to pay attention to the story and make sure to enjoy the process, because if you're choosing to enjoy the process, then everything will be much more successful. I'm very happy because now we can answer your questions. So I will call Vicente.
Thank you so much, Jovana. So just like Jovana said, we are not done with the webinar yet. Now we're going to get into the Q&A section. You'll see here at the bottom right, you can ask all your questions, any questions that you may have about Jovana's equipment, about her editing process, about her work, about her career. If you already know about Jovana, how active she is and how much experience she's garnered, you really have an incredible opportunity now to interact with her and to really get to know more about her work and to really get some advice for your own career as well. We also have here the survey. We'd love to hear from you. We really put a lot of work into these webinars, and we always want to touch upon subjects that really are interesting to photographers and designers, and to really further your artistic work. And as said before, Jovana is just one of the incredible people that we are so privileged to be working with at BenQ. We have a lot of other webinars always that we're organizing, live streams. You can stay up to date with that on our social media, and you have to, of course, follow Jovana's work. You can see this and a plethora of other incredible images that she has. So without further ado, we'll then get into the Q&A. So, Valentina is asking, why is ISO on 1000? Isn't it better on less?
1000, you mean on the people, like the portrait?
On the model photo, correct.
Yeah, because it was taking inside the studio, and it was a cloudy day, and I was creating photos with artificial light, and I didn't have enough light. I don't like to use like this high ISO, but sometimes it is unnecessary, and sometimes I really love to have like grains in the photo, like little grains, not too much, because it also adds so much into the texture and the whole story. But make sure to use 100, 200, up to 500 it is okay.
Great. One thing that I also want to say is you can see here on the right side on the main screen, we have here one of today's raw images, which is the exact same image, the raw file, which Jovana was editing. If you want to download that, that's very simple. Simply click on the flower, on the flowers file, and you'll be able to get that for yourself. So, Daria is asking, do you use Lightroom or any other app besides Photoshop?
Sometimes only when I'm selecting the images, because what I don't like about Lightroom is you don't have enough room for manipulation and editing, only for toning. For toning is the best, and for selection. But for Photoshop, to me, is much better because I can manipulate the image at the end.
Jenny is asking, referring to the Photoshop version you're using, that you're using Photoshop 2015. And she's asking, do you feel like you're missing the new features? Right now, she mentions generative fill.
No, it is only for this type of the sessions and webinars. This is my oldest version. I'm using on the PC the new version and generative fill, and I really love to use this tool because it is new perspective and you can do so many stuff. So this is because of this.
Mm-hmm. We have another question from Daria. He says, I'm 17 years old and I'm doing photography now for
Nice.
5 years. And he
Wow.
says he sometimes still struggles with things like bad focus or things like with ISO, with the ISO. And he's asking, did you go through something similar?
Yes, and it's still happening, and it is okay to have all these things sometimes, because sometimes you are on you have a perfect setup, but the light is not so good. You have to go ISO up, as I do in a studio. You can put it like, the best is to put it 200, but sometimes I do sometimes in 3000, because to better to have the photo than to not have a photo at the end. So it is okay to struggle with all, even if you are doing 5 or more years.
That's great. Yeah, it's always remarkable that obviously everyone always starts somewhere, and
Yeah.
that's also, I think, quite remarkable for Jovana's story, because she did not start off as a photographer, but now is incredibly successful with what she does. So really, everyone has to start somewhere.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you always have to learn, like, through the whole process. And there is also people think that when you come to some of the level, then you can do like mistakes and all these things. So yeah, you can do mistakes, but it's you learn how to control over these mistakes, and you learn through the whole process, so it is fine.
We have a question from Jovana, who's asking, which lenses do you recommend for portrait photography, like with one person or even group photos?
For the group photo, 50 millimeters. For the portraits, 135. It is a killer lens. This is the most used lens I own. I love this lens, and 105 millimeters 1.4 lens is the best one, like Canon and Sigma. I love it.
A question from Sara, who's saying, any tips on how to find models if you're not able to pay professional models?
We all have social media. We all have Instagram. So make sure to follow some local photographers you like, or make sure to type some insert bar, maybe freckles, maybe blue eyes, or maybe find through the photographers you are following the model she was taking photos of. And make sure if you don't have a budget, you can also suggest to pose for you for the photos, and she will get the photos, and you will also get the photos for your portfolio. So every person who loves to be photographing, then they will be okay to do it for you, because if you're starting, they will understand you. Make sure to be honest. Also make sure to tell, I have a budget at this moment, are you okay with this, to create a photo session for free. I will give you the photos you can use on social media, and I will also get the photos for portfolio. And make sure to always the both sides have benefits, not only one side.
I think that's very applicable nowadays.
Okay, yeah.
I think a lot with students, for example, people who they know they can't pay anyone, but
Yeah.
people will be happy to receive material for themselves. So
yeah, and you don't have to choose the more professional models because they're in an agency, and mostly they will ask for fee. But if you ask some students also, they will also be willing to pose, I'm pretty sure.
we have a question from Luna about Instagram. She's asking, which settings are you using when posting your images so that the quality is not affected?
Make sure to post as a PNG file, not a JPEG, because it will lose the quality as a JPEG. For PNG, it saves the details in the photo. And make sure to maybe minimize the photo up to 1000, 2000 pixels in order to not download the file and use online, especially through artificial intelligence era now.
Mm-hmm. Jenny is asking, I would like to have more visibility on Instagram. She finds it's hard to stand out in the fine art community. What are your tips?
Instagram changed a lot in the past few years, because I'm more into photography, not the video, but now the reels are going. So I think it is, some of the tips are to make post photos daily, like to see when the most people are online. Make sure to make the business profile, not the private. Make sure to not lock your profile to be visible to the people, and make sure to write to photographers or to models, maybe to do like promo for promo. I did it also when I was starting with photography. Can you promote my page? And we were writing for each other who has the big following, and it's adds results at the end. And make sure to add the music into the post, because now it is like a trend. And to post stories also, because you must be present all the time, and people will come over and over. And make sure to be like true yourself, and to talk a little bit of process to show what is actually going.
We have a question from Jovana, who's asking, I have a 50mm prime lens, but I want to expand more. What do you recommend?
You mean like to switch the lenses? In that case, I think 35 millimeters is totally fine, because with 35 you can go closer and you can do like wide angle shots. To me, 35 works only with fine art photography. When I'm wide angle shots, if I go too close to the model, I go like, and it's so uncomfortable in front of the people. So it is okay to choose 50 and more.
And we have a question from Dari again, asking that they're having trouble knowing which part of photography to specialize in. So I'm assuming by landscape or portrait, and they're asking, do you have any recommendations for that?
I think the best recommendation is to try all these styles and to see for which styles you have like the most jumping moment and the happiness moment. If you love to plan like organization for the models, to choose the models, to fixing the hair, fixing the dress, choosing the dress, choosing the right colors, then I think the people photography is for you. If you love to explore, if you want to travel, if you love colors, if you love like nature, then the landscape. So it really depends. So what your heart jumps for. So when I was starting, I was creating photos of landscape in nature, and I didn't want to take great photos of people because it was very interesting, like the flowers and so on. But when I was starting people, I saw how many emotions they can change and how many stuff I can do and how many stories I can create. And immediately I was starting creating photos of people because it attracts me this way. So I think the best is to try all the styles and to see, you will know it. Trust me, just try all the styles.
Olya is asking, which app do you recommend for editing?
I'm not using the app for editing. I'm using the software like Photoshop and Lightroom. So I cannot answer this question. But she probably means for photo filter like Instagram stories or.
Beyond this, she's simply asking about the app, so I'm not sure what the
I
context
know
is.
sometimes when I post the stories on Instagram, I use the Teza app. It is so interesting, and for the videos, InShot. So only for stories when I like post daily posts, but for photography, I choose only Photoshop.
Mhm. Carla is asking, how much time does it take, the whole process from taking the photo to editing the photo?
I think the last it's taking the photo, because the whole preparation before taking the photo is taking the place. So I think the whole preparation, taking the photos and editing, every photo shoot is different, but from 1 day to 1 month, trust me, because some of the props takes 3 weeks to make. Uh, depends if you want to use like, if you want to make some props, if you want to only to create the portraits, but it's not the key. You have to prepare. You have to meet the model. You have to use the dress. You have to buy the dress or rent a dress. So it takes time. This is the part of the process also. But a few days, I will say.
Svetlana says she doesn't have any questions, but she says in very big letters, "We love you, Jovana."
We love you too. I love you too. Thank you so much.
Anne is asking, how did you get in touch with your first clients abroad, so internationally?
Oh my God, it was years ago. Let's remember. I remember that I was start traveling abroad, and I was taking photos and posting on Instagram. Then people saw that I was traveling also and said, "Oh my God, will you travel to my country to take photos of me?" Or they travel to me, and the brands also. "Oh, you are traveling now. You can come here, and then we can create portraits." So I think that is how Instagram is.
Mhm. Ada is asking, do you think that when we have to use high ISO, it's good to try and reduce the noise in editing, especially for
Yes,
portraits?
yes, yes. But try to use not so high, like ISO, especially. Sometimes we don't have a choice, but make sure maybe less ISO, and then after in RAW a section to exposure go up.
Mhm.
Sorry for
Carla,
my English, because sometimes I'm.
not an issue. Carla is asking, what would you say is the best way to grow and promote yourself online when starting professional work? And she says, I'm from your neighbor country, Croatia, and my dream would be
Ah,
to work globally like you.
Pozdrav. The best is like choose type of photography websites you want to post your images. Make sure to have like photography websites like professionally, and to post on social media like Facebook, Instagram, these three platforms, and other like 100px, Behance, Saatchi, where you can like it is more into professional side where the more global clients are. and then to be consistent, to make every time when you're creating the set, make sure to post it online and to promote it on Instagram, on TikTok, and on Facebook. And it is, as I said, it's not only taking a photo, it is operation and whole promoting stuff afterwards. So it is the whole process. So make sure to only be consistent and to choose the photography platforms. You can write to me and I will send you the list of the sites.
Susanna is asking, do you use any other skin retouching technique? And do you use presets in Camera Raw?
At the beginning, I was doing all myself, but now I'm creating my own presets where I can apply. And indeed, in this case, I can finish the photo much quicker. But this is only a base. I always do retouching afterwards, more of the toning, because every image is different lights and different setups. So it's not going for every image, like it's not the same setup.
And Daria is asking, I'm from a small city in Serbia. I hope I'm saying this correctly, Leskovac.
Leskovac, yes.
Yeah, and it's really hard to find a paid jobs. Any tips that you could give from your own beginning?
I think it's the best to try to meet as people as you can, try to go to events, try to attend some like workshop pages or events sites or exhibition where you can meet the people and talk to them and maybe recommend your portfolio. Make sure to have prepared your own portfolio. If you don't have a website, make sure to have like maybe a small notebook where people can see your photos. And then you, at the beginning, when you don't, you have to communicate with.
Mm-hmm. And Vanya is saying thank you and seeing you soon at the workshop in Novi Sad.
Thank you so much. So excited too, and see you very soon.
So if anyone else has any other questions, feel free to write. One thing I can also say, some of you have been saying, for example, that you'd love to see in the future webinar topics, things like still life photography, food photography, portrait photography. We have our YouTube channel, the AccuColor by BenQ YouTube channel, where you can find virtually hundreds of different topics on food photography or on photography and design from past webinars. As said, we're always organizing new webinars and new events and new live streams. So really, we're looking forward to welcome you all at those as well. And Jovana is not sending a question, but another compliment saying, thank you so much, Jovana. Excellent workshop. I love your work. I've been following you for years and I learned a lot.
God. Thank you so much. It really means a lot to me. Really. Thank you.
A lot of kind words. Well, if we have no more questions, then I think we can then say that all the time we have for today.
I want to say thank you so much for attending this webinar. Thank you, BenQ. Thank you, Vicente. I really love. Every time enjoy so much.
It was a real pleasure for us as well, as usual, and we're seeing a lot of lovely comments from people online. But as mentioned before to everyone, if you enjoyed today's webinar, be sure to follow Jovana's work. Be sure to follow BenQ for the future events. The discount code that you're seeing right now will also be shared with all of you via email, and we're really looking forward to welcome you all at future events. We'd also like to say a really big thank you to Jovana for taking the time for this. It's really a fantastic learning privilege for a lot of you, and I really think it was really a fantastic experience for everyone involved. And we're looking forward to seeing you at future events.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
Great. Then bye-bye, everyone.
Bye.